Hey everyone, welcome back to another session. And I have another awesome speaker. I'm so excited he agreed to participate in the summit. And my speaker is Timothy Ito with a company called Marketing Nice Guys. I love the name of the company.
Oh,
And and the session is going to be about fixing the four leaks in your funnel to maximize marketing performance.
okay. All right. Well, thanks, Natalie. We appreciate it. And I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and then we'll kind of go from there and make sure everybody can see it. Can everybody see this presentation? And Natalie, maybe if you could stay on and just make sure that you can see it. And
Yes, we can see it.
okay. All right. So why don't we get started? We only have 30 minutes. So let's get right into it. I think the big question with a conference that is about, companies that have already sort of cracked the marketing code is why are we doing another presentation on marketing? And I think with this particular presentation, what we want to try to get to, and from a goal standpoint, is to kind of have you look at your marketing operations and look and see where you can optimize things. And because today, as you kind of think about digital marketing, the biggest change from marketing in the past, maybe 20 years ago, is that now you have data and now you can kind of look and see where your performance is and where people are falling out of what we call the funnel. And we can kind of talk about that as we go. Today, I'm going to cover a few things, just a quick introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about marketing operations. I'm going to provide a framework for it. And then we'll talk a little bit about the funnel, which I'm sure all of you are aware but we'll talk about just different marketing tactics that can affect kind of the funnel and kind of your effectiveness and people flowing through to the full buyer journey. And then we'll talk about the four funnel fixes, and then we're going to do a quick Q&A giveaway. Okay. So first, a little bit about me. My name is Tim Ito. As Natalie said, I'm the principal or co-owner of Marketing Nice Guys. We're an agency here based in the Washington, D.C. area, Arlington, Virginia. I've got about, I don't know, maybe 25 years of experience in marketing in various roles. I ran marketing at a couple of organizations. And then about 3 years ago, I founded this agency with another guy. And we basically focus on small businesses like yours. I also teach digital marketing at the Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. So I've taught a digital marketing course there for about 9 years. All right, let's talk a little bit about everything you do. And the reason we're gonna kind of start here is that for those of you who don't have a system, sort of a marketing system, want to kind of at least touch on a few things that involve marketing operations as a whole. We like to break down all the things you do in marketing into sort of five core areas. One is planning and strategy. And typically you do these in order, right? So planning and strategy, there's approach, which is basically after you determine, kind of your target audience, your plan for how you're going to go out there, you need to kind of identify your content approach, your tone, kind of how to project yourself out there. Then there's tools and tactics. So, like everything, sometimes it pays to invest in certain marketing tools. You need to understand tactics as well, because tactics are what bring you sort of down the funnel as you go. Then there's obviously implementation. So in marketing, you have to implement things. And a lot of marketing and a lot of places where we're going to talk about today is really on the implementation side, where you have to pay attention to little details to do it well, to optimize the number of people who can get through. And then the last part is optimization. So one thing that all of you should be doing, if you're not doing right now, is looking at the data and seeing, okay, what's my result? Where are people falling out? And then the optimization feeds back into the previous four steps. So sometimes, from an optimization standpoint, you might have to adjust your strategy. Sometimes you might have to adjust your content approach. So for example, if you're doing a lot of practical content, maybe you have to do a different type of content. Tools and tactics. I'll give you an example. We often say to a lot of companies, hey, you should think about like other tools that can help you better understand the customer. I'll give you one example is Hotjar, for example. If you guys have e-commerce courses or other things like that, Hotjar is a great tool to kind of look at what people are actually doing in real time when they come to your website. And then there's obviously tactics which bring you down. And then sometimes you have to improve your implementation. So it's sort of a circular process. And that's kind of why we like this framework. And it's one that you can keep in mind. And if you want to talk more about it, we're happy to. I think as we kind of look at these areas, the funnel, there's a reason this has been around for about 100 years. Originally, it was, it's derived from a model that St. Elmo Lewis came up with in 1898, which mapped out the customer journey. So you are all familiar, I'm sure, at this point of the marketing funnel, but it starts at the awareness stage, then there's engagement, acquisition, intent, conversion, loyalty, advocacy. In St. Elmo Lewis's original model, it was actually, you might have heard this before, it's awareness, interest, desire, action. So it's IDA. The guy who actually put it into a funnel first was William Townsend, though. He wrote it in Bond Salesmanship in 1924. So it's about 100 years old. And it's been around because it does accurately reflect what you see from the buyer journey. If you look at each step of Patio, our operations framework, the one that was from the previous slide, it's designed to bring the maximum number of people through the funnel, right? So as you kind of go down, what you're trying to do is you're trying to look at your operations and you're trying to see where you can bring people down, keep bringing them further. Where are people falling out? What are they doing from each one stage to the next? Okay. Which brings up, some of you have e-commerce courses that you offer, and sometimes you have a provider, a platform that it's a little bit maybe inflexible, but all of you should be looking at areas of the funnel, especially on the e-commerce side, of where individuals could be falling out of that funnel. So as you kind of look at, this is an example of actually a real client. They got 75,000 visits to their site, and then they got 20,000 people putting something in the cart. They got 5,500 orders. So what this kind of tells you is that there's a natural funnel process, right? There's so many people visiting. There's so many people saying, oh, I'm interested, I'm engaged in this. And then there's so many people who are actually purchasing. Now, this is actually a really good example of a company that does a very good job in terms of optimizing their funnel, because this is about a 7% or so basically visit to checkout ratio, which is really, really good. But as you kind of look at this, it's a funnel shape, right? Because there are more people visiting. There are fewer people adding to a cart. There are few people ordering. What this doesn't show is the number of people that are becoming aware of it and before they visit, and then the number of people who, once they do visit, how they're engaging the people that do eventually purchase. So, but this can give you an idea as well, as you kind of look at the process, is where are people falling out? And the key is to start collecting data on all this stuff. Okay. Now, without knowing kind of each of your individual businesses and where each of you are, some of you, we're going to kind of cover some common leaks. Now, as we cover these leaks, one of the things that I want to just emphasize is that obviously, some of you may be doing some of this better than others. And, we don't want to say like this is blanket across all companies, but we tend to see these at particularly coaching, training companies, those that provide consulting services as well. So here they are. Here are the 4 funnel leaks. Okay. So number 1, your SEO. So let's talk about why SEO first. So SEO, once you do it, it's the cheapest cost per lead, right? That we think more coaching companies can take advantage of. And why? Because it basically, once you do it, it is basically a way for you to earn visits that are the lowest ROI, basically the best ROI for you, because you basically aren't paying for those leads. You're basically doing it once, optimizing your site, and then taking advantage of basically the awareness that you get. Now, a couple things about SEO. Brand drives a lot. I'm using an example of Marshall Goldsmith here. He's obviously a very famous speaker in leadership and other areas. Marshall, obviously gets great SEO because he's a brand, right? He gets searches just based on his name, on his books. But brand and brand is going to be very important as you kind of think about SEO, but it's not everything. All right. Many companies, like maybe it's your company, maybe some others, rank just below the top 10 results. And why this is a funnel fix and why this is a leak is because If you could improve that, if you can get within the top 10, ideally to number one, right? It's the difference between discovery and no visibility at all, because 98% of the people don't go past page one of Google results. So what do you do? Okay, so a couple things that I'm going to suggest you do that you can do on your own without any marketing company, without anybody else helping you, is that you can go to Google's Keyword Planner. We would recommend that all companies go and revisit what those keywords are that people are searching for, and get new ideas about content you can create, about pages that you can enhance, and other things. Doing this in the Keyword Planner. So if you just go to any ads, so all of you, if you have Gmail, you have a Google Ads capability. You don't have to do any Google Ads on your Gmail, but what you can do is you can go to tools and settings, and then there's a free keyword planner, and Google will tell you the volume of searches in any given area for your industry. And you can, if you only work, for example, let's say you're only a consultant or only a coach out of Chicago and you do a lot of local business, you can only search in Chicago if you want to, right? But it's useful because what you do is you find out what the volume of keywords is in a particular geographic area. Let's say you're just looking at the United States. And then what you do is you kind of say, okay, there's a lot of searches for this. Maybe I should create content around that. Maybe what I should do from an SEO standpoint is put those high value keywords in the URL, the headline, the body copy. You want to rename your URL for your images, and you want to do your image alt text. You want to bold them. You want to put them in bullets. So these are all the high value keywords, or like what we call a topic model related keyword. Those are things that you can do on your own to optimize your pages. You can also get related businesses to link to you. The other piece that I would say you should do, cross-link other pages of your website. We see this happens all the time too. It's not just coaching businesses, but almost every business. Companies do not link to other pages on your website. If you don't link to basically the saying goes, if you don't link to it, why should Google rank you, right? You don't care enough to link to your pages. Why should Google? All right. So you should always try to have at least 5 links on every page going to your site. Lastly, if you create new pages, put them in Twitter. One thing Google does is they index Twitter first to discover new pages. So you want to make sure your pages are getting indexed by the search engine. And one way to do that is promote new pages in Twitter or other social media too. That works. And then find a regular process to get reviews and listed in directories. SHRM has a directory. Other associations have directories. And then it's just paying attention to little details on each page. These are things that you can do if you want on your own. If you need, obviously, additional help, there are agencies like ours that can certainly help you. All right, let's talk about funnel fix number 2, your advertising approach or any promotions. Like any business owner, I think where we see a lot of coaching companies kind of fall down a little bit is the way they do their promotions. Everybody wants leads right now, but I think in some cases, what we see with this particular area is that brands sort of rush into, hey, I have this course available, or I have this thing available, or I have this membership, just buy it now and go get it. I think what ends up happening is that you end up wasting some spend because what you're doing is you're trying to force a conversion before someone is ready, before someone knows you. So one of the things, here's an example we give is that Tony Robbins, right? He basically has an ad that looks like this. Are you ready to join us? Join now. Well, he's a little different because everybody knows who Tony Robbins is, right? So he's already got that recognition, the authority. People might go, I got to join Tony Robbins. I know who he is and I'm going to do it. By contrast, you may be advertising to those who don't know your name or brand. So the likelihood of them joining an offer upon seeing an ad is less likely. So where would you aim? I really like these guys, and they're a great example of companies that do a nice job, and it's Mindvalley. And I don't know if you're not familiar with Mindvalley, they do a lot of sort of self-help, life coaching type things. And they do a lot of promotion of content. So where they're aiming is a little bit what we call higher in the funnel. In other words, their advertising approach isn't just, hey, buy this now. It is, hey, let me show you what we do and let me show you why this is important or why this is interesting, right? And they kind of get you hooked first. Some of you do this, and that's great. But for a lot of the ads that we see, right, you may not be doing it in your advertising. In other words, just try to get them on your list. Just try to get them so that they can start seeing more of your promotions. Visit the website, other things like that. So aim a little bit higher in the funnel, and you may start to build that authority with them, which is what's going to help them make that purchase. So this is one area where I think we see a lot of companies not quite kind of get there in terms of like what their message is when they put it out. They put out more straight advertising about maybe it's a piece of content, maybe something else. I think the difference between a great advertising promotion or even content promotion is going to be creativity, right? And what is creativity? Creativity is basically taking something that people know, twisting it slightly so that they still see the original, but it's a little bit different. In other words, you're not creating something absolutely completely new. What you're doing is you're taking an existing concept that people are aware of and you're twisting it a little bit so that when they see it in either marketing promotions or whatever, they go, "Oh, that's really interesting. That's really clever." Right? This is interesting. It hooks me a little bit more, right? And so that's where I think a lot of companies can use some boost here. So let me give you a quick example with coaching businesses in particular. One thing that we often see is that they use this concept, or the good ones really use this concept of social currency. And what we mean by that in marketing is basically that you provide insights and thought leadership that your target audience may not know or realize. So what it makes them do is it makes them smarter, funnier, more interesting so that they pass it on. Okay. I'm going to give you a quick example, and there's no interactivity until the end, unfortunately, because I can't see anybody with our current setup. But some of you may know this painting, some of you may not. This is an example of hopefully social currency you can use one day and pass on. So, for those of you who know this painting, this is actually The Night Watch by Rembrandt, and it's from 1642. And it's got a couple interesting things about this painting that might be worth you kind of knowing. One, it's almost life size, so it's a huge painting. It's in a Dutch museum. It's one of Rembrandt's most famous paintings. I think the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, though, is that this painting follows a lot of the style of that age. So when Rembrandt originally painted this, and a lot of the Dutch masters and the Italian Renaissance painters also painted this way, was they started with a dark canvas because they believed that the world was a dark place. And what they thought their job was to add light to it. So as you look at the painting, you can kind of see, if you look at the guy's hat here on the right, that the paint is lightest where it's thickest, because what their job was to pull the light from the dark, right? And so if you think about that as a metaphor for a lot of things, right? Your job, what you guys do, a lot of what you guys do as coaches and trainers is you pull sort of that light from the dark. You help people see, you help illuminate things, right? Now, so anytime you go to a museum from now on, if you look at these paintings, you can go up to any Rembrandt or any Italian Renaissance painting and say, "Oh, you know, they started with a dark canvas, and then as they added light, the paint got thicker." So you can look at the next time you go to an art museum, you can kind of see that. Now, the good coaches, what they might do with something like this is they might sort of say, that has a lot of parallels. There's a light and a dark. There's the gradual improving of what you're doing. There's a lot of different ways that you can use that in your own approach. Using one area, right, where you're using kind of knowledge of a particular area and you're applying it to something new, right? That's kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about creativity, is using the knowledge that you have from different areas. We would say take advantage of that. Okay. All right. Here's an example of someone that I've been following. This guy's named Brendan Bouchard. He does a nice job here with just content. And again, when we're talking about advertising, we're really talking about all promotions, content as well. And he does a nice job here, kind of basically boosting his authority. What he's saying is how to build resilience into your dream. And it's about getting over rejection to follow your dream. And I think if you look at him, what he does is he adds that little social currency because people are saying, oh, I never knew that. That's something I didn't know before. Right. So as you think about your funnel fix in this area and getting more people at that top of the funnel and getting them engaged and getting them interested, this could be like one area that you use is using more social currency. Okay.
Tim, really quick, you only have about 9 minutes left. I want
Got
to
it.
make sure that you have plenty of
We're
time.
going to get through it. I'm aware. Thank you. All right. Funnel fix number 3, your landing pages. A lot of what we see when people have these promotions, whether they come from ads, whether they come from content, whether they come from social, is that their landing page, there's a huge leak. Sometimes you get up to 80% or more of people that just abandon the page. And that's a huge leap, right? So what can you do? There's a couple things, and we're going to use a couple examples here, but first, I would make sure to pay off whatever promotion is, whether that's an ad, post, an email. The more that you can connect that promotion to the landing page, the better it's going to do. Okay. Second, make sure it's easy to capture emails or contact info. We still see a lot of even big companies put their forms at the bottom of the page, or put your form at the top of the page, or call to action or something that allows them to basically take action, and then be consistent as you go down through the page. Penny does a nice job here. I think you can see she kind of asks for your phone number and she says, call me, right? In some cases, you're going to go to an e-commerce page. That's fine. But whatever the case is, make sure the contact and their ability to contact you, right, is up high. 3, provide social proof, lots of it. These include testimonials, case studies, whatever it is. Always consider the visual weight, right? And what we mean by that is like visual weight is a concept in design where you don't put crowd too much into one space, right? Put the emphasis on certain visual elements. So like in Penny's case, you're seeing your eye is drawn to meet with Penny in the blue button, and the purple, which is like leave your number and we'll call you, right? So it's a very good use of the visual weight. Also make it easy to contact you regardless. Okay. If you're doing a course, here's an example of Fred Pryor. We wanted to take the manager course. I put it in the cart. It took me 6 steps to get to the payment screen. Now, that's not a great experience. And again, I don't want to rip on Fred Pryor. I'm sure he's got a great course. But all I wanted to do was sign up for a $199 course. And he took me through 6 screens. Always limit the number of fields and screens required, right? Because this is the biggest area where we see people dropping out. Do you really need address 2? You don't. And for those of you who we don't have a lot of time, but for those of you who want to talk with me about that, I'm fine too. But you don't need company and job title either. You can get that information later. So make it much easier for people to sign up. All right. We only got a few minutes, so I'm going to go to funnel fix 4, your marketing automation. We're only going to cover one aspect of this. And this is just about setting up automations for the right actions. We've seen a lot of larger businesses, and we were just talking to one today, that manually transfer website lead form data to an email marketing automation system. And that leads to entry mistakes, oversights, segmentation problems. Make sure to set up automation if you have not yet. Marketing automation makes life easier, right? It makes messaging less ad hoc and more reliable. Things you should automate. A welcome series for sure. So anytime somebody signs up for a newsletter or it's a subscriber, give them a welcome series automation, a thank you response for any new inquiries, a nurture series for content downloads, a nurture series for those who drop off the sales process, a welcome series for new customers, an inactivity email to get customers engaged. So let's say you have a customer, you bring them on, they're not using whatever it is they haven't visited the site, whatever it is, send them an email to kind of get them engaged and keep them engaged. A renewal series email for cases where you have subscriptions or other things. And then a follow-up email for new customers, get feedback. That's all going to be important as you think about like getting them engaged, and allowing them to also help you market your business. Lastly, with any marketing automation system, you might want to include a couple other things that you might want to store: their anniversary date. Maybe you send them a happy anniversary email, the method of acquisition, so that you understand what topic it was that they were interested in, any site or engagement behavior, and then any other demographic or location data that you like. Okay. I am sorry, but we are close to being out of time, and I think we ran through this in about 26 minutes. These are only a few of the leaks that you might potentially have. And fixing some of these in the short term can certainly be, something that I hope that can help you. I think as you look at your operations and as you go back to Patio, the one thing that you want to keep doing is you want to keep looking at kind of where people are falling out and what you're doing. And I think that's sort of the main takeaway from here. If you want, we're a company that does marketing audits. We do funnel audits that basically can take a look at your entire process, everything from your awareness to your engagement and acquisition process to the way you convert your leads. So that's that. That's us at Marketing Nice Guys. We do have a giveaway. And Natalie, I don't know if you're on. Maybe we can kind of still do this.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So you can win a copy of the Small Business Digital Marketing Handbook. It's a book written by me and Bonnie. And the first person who gets this right in the chat, just submit the name. The first SEO initiative was actually related to this famous rock band. Was it the Rolling Stones, the Who, Fleetwood Mac, Jefferson Starship, Aerosmith, the Grateful Dead, or Cheap Trick?
So,
Anybody?
yes, put the chat. We're having trouble with the chat right now, but if
Oh,
you press, so there's 6 buttons from 1 till 6. So press any digit in your keyboard, and that is going to be exactly very nicely aligned to all the answers here. Oh, I think
okay.
people already
Does
voted.
anybody know? Is it the Rolling Stones, the Who, Fleetwood Mac, Jefferson Starship, Aerosmith, Grateful Dead, or Cheap?
Okay, I
Anybody?
see a couple of Rolling Stones. I
Okay.
see the Who. I see someone put a number 4.
That's
Um,
it.
that's it.
Yeah, it was Jefferson Starship.
Awesome. What I'll do is I will check a few things on the back end to make sure like who was the first person who pressed number 4, and
Yes.
then we'll get you the giveaway.
Okay. So let me do this. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and then let me just go. So I'm available. I think there's only a minute left, and unfortunately, maybe there's not a lot of time for Q&A. Natalie, we can kind of do this if you want. My email is tim@marketingniceguys.com. And I'm happy to answer any. I know that was very quick. We went through a lot of stuff there, but let's maybe, if you want, tim@marketingniceguys.com. And if any of you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Happy to be here
One
today.
comment here I do want to mention is a lot of the times businesses think about, okay, I need more sales. I need to increase our revenue. And a lot
Wow.
of the times it is increase in SEO, increase in PPC, increase in visibility.
Yep.
While majority of the times, what's gonna give you the highest ROI, the fastest ROI is fixing those leaky buckets. So you
Yep.
can actually double your sales and revenue fairly quickly
Yep.
once you start to fix all of those things that are something that I call a black box, where the person lands on your website and all the way till becoming a customer or even churning from your business. What is happening in those steps is the biggest thing, the highest opportunity, and the number one step that I highly recommend everyone check before going and spending more money on pay-per-click.
Absolutely. Oftentimes it's not what you're doing. It's just how you're doing it. Right. And if you kind of look in how you're doing it and you can make those adjustments, you guys will do well, especially since you're already established.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you so much. Everyone, check out marketingniceguys.com, and I'll see you in the next session.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Nell.
Thanks, everyone.